Although not metal or Kevlar, two of my material loves, this is the new Blackberry Z10, and it feels, well, great in the hand, almost premium. The only thing that gives the game away that the main chassis here and the fairly sizable top and bottom bezels aren't aluminium is that they don't feel cold to the touch. The same with the back, which feels solid and very like the Kevlar back of the Razr I here, except that again it's plastic, but with a wonderfully grippy rubberized finish. This is the BlackBerry reboot with a whole new OS, Blackberry 10, actually QNX Neutrino, if you want to get technical. Effectively a full multitasking OS along the lines of Symbian, but with a fresh coat of BlackBerry paint and fast and modern internals. The Z10 is the first such device with a QWERTY keyboard-driven sister, the Q10, coming in a few months. It's not the fastest device I've used recently in terms of raw UI speed. There are often waits of a second or so while a tweet loads or a picture renders, but the overall swipe UI here, along with the multitasking home screen showing what's actually running and allowing quick switching, largely make up for this. You'll lose a second here or there, but you gain in terms of productivity and finding your way around the Z10. It reminded me a lot of MeeGo and the N9 here, and that's a good thing in my view. The last 8 applications are shown here in thumbnail state, active tiles in BlackBerry parlance. Just tap on any, for example, Angry Birds here, to go straight to it. Go back. Some applications have been customized to work with the multitasking view and show optimized content, for example, BlackBerry World, Pictures and Calendar. I'm sure more will be made of this state in coming months. It's a bit like on the upcoming Sailfish OS. Swiping left gives traditional application shortcuts, while swiping right gives the BlackBerry Hub, your email, BBM, text and social messages all in one place. It all works rather well, with everything kept in strict chronological order, yet with threaded conversations thrown once appropriate as you tap through. Sensibly, BlackBerry has resisted the temptation to make the Hub a social client in itself. It just covers the messaging and mentions aspect. There are also here full Facebook and Twitter clients, written by BlackBerry itself, built into the OS. Both are bare bones but decent, and run in full-on white mode. Shocking to me as an AMOLED fan, but do note that the Z10 has an LCD display, so white is absolutely not a problem. Here's Twitter. The screen is 4.2 inches and yet 768p working out at over 350 pixels per inch, so very crisp. The bezel sizes here, top and bottom, are large. Look at this Razr I with a 4.3 inch screen and significantly smaller form factor than the Z10. By 2013 standards, the Z10 form factor really should have housed a 4.7 or 4.8 inch display. After all, the Z10 is about the same physical size as the Galaxy Nexus or Galaxy S3. I think that's a missed opportunity and definitely a sign of version 1 hardware on this new platform. It's LCD technology here and clear enough. Auto brightness is the same as on Symbian. You set a level you like and the system manages everything for you. The speaker's pretty good. Here's a video demo. And the media codecs are okay too. There we are, a bit of retro from the X Factor there. The grippy plastic back detaches easily to reveal a replaceable 1800 mAh battery. Gives about a day of use, comparable to the iPhone 5 and other competitors, but a nightly charge is 100% essential unless you have a spare battery to swap in. Things aren't helped by the Z10 being rather slow to charge. 3 or 4 hours was typical. Definitely best by your bedside while you sleep. There's a micro SD slot here in addition to the 16 gig system disk, so no worries on that score. 2 GB of RAM keeps the dual-core 1.5 gig processor free to run the OS without restrictions, and note also the micro SIM slot, the slight camera bump here at the top, and the NFC antenna built into the back cover. On the side, in addition to micro USB, there's micro HDMI for plugging into displays and projectors, ideal in theory for presenting slideshows, though there was no cable supplied and I didn't try this. A middle button between the volume buttons here acts as a pause play button for music and also launches voice control. Let's try it. Send email to Steve Litchfield. Subject: hello. Body: this is a test from the BlackBerry Z10.
Email subject says hello.
Well, it almost got there. It got confused with the Z10 part, but I guess you're not going to be using that in phrases very often. Let's try another. Schedule an appointment tomorrow at 11 AM. Title: Quarterly Report.
Here is your appointment on the 26th of February 2013, 11 o'clock. The title is Quarterly Report.
Very nice.
Do you want to save your appointment now?
Not as sassy as Siri, of course. In the absence of a shutter button, the camera can be accessed from the lock screen by tapping and holding, and it's decent in good light. Similar to most of the competition, see these samples, though the less said about evening shots the better. Again, similar to the competition. I'd insert my Xenon rant here again, but the camera is really here only an incidental function on the otherwise business-focused Z10, so there's no point in me obsessing over it. Taking a photo is done by tapping the screen or using your left finger on the volume up key, which is cute but unintuitive. Closing the camera then is an up swipe or is it a side swipe? It depends on which orientation you started the camera in, which is confusing. And in very gloomy conditions, this is test 1080p footage, continuous autofocus in the UK winter here on the Blackberry Z10. So the hardware's solid, if slightly unremarkable. Good enough though. A lot will come down to what you've been using, how much of a draw the Blackberry name is here at the bottom, how much you like the look of the interface, and so on. Application shouldn't be an issue for most. There's a very competent web browser. There's no text flow after zooming, but I'll let it off because of the excellent reader mode here, stripping out all but the content you actually want. In addition to Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn, the Z10 is compatible with any Exchange, email and PIM system. Now, I can't really comment on compatibility with corporate servers of the past. With a BES upgrade, apparently it should work. Mapping and sat-nav work well. I got to my destinations every time, albeit without the multifarious delights of Google Maps and Android and without the offline facility of Symbian and Windows Phone 8. There's a good range of general built-in software here, including, remember, a cloud notes and to-do service that also has hooks into Evernote. The full Docs2Go Office editing suite, always impressive. Box.net, Dropbox and Foursquare clients, plus the usual utilities and aids. Blackberry World here is the App Store, and it's just about enough for me personally that there have been some high-profile omissions. Instagram, Google+, Google Drive and Netflix all spring immediately to mind. As with Windows Phone though, there's just enough here to keep me going, and we can trust the ecosystem to mature, of course, and fill out in time. Plus, there's a flourishing line in side-loaded Android apps running under the built-in Gingerbread emulation engine Z10. Nice to see the variety here, but everyone would much rather have native BlackBerry 10 apps, I'm sure. Saving perhaps the best bit of the Z10 till last, you'll have noticed this is a BlackBerry yet without a physical keyboard. Previous RIM attempts at this haven't been a huge success, but with the Z10, BlackBerry's knocked it out of the park. Need a keyboard? Ta-da! Need to get rid of it? Ta-da! And it pops up when needed as well, of course. The predictive powers are exceptional. Don't get too hung up on the gimmicky way suggested words appear on the keyboard. They're too small or covered up most of the time anyway, and it takes longer to stop and check the words right and then flick up. You might as well just keep hammering away and, to quote Apple, trust the software. The BlackBerry Virtual Keyboard is up with the very best on Android, for example, SwiftKey, and better than the iPhones, I think. It's honestly a pleasure to use and proved a big surprise to me, personally. However, this being a version 1 product, BlackBerry is starting again almost from scratch, and there are some quirks and annoyances. The initial Wi-Fi setup screen left me scratching my head and wanted to put the phone back in its box, so what a new user will think. The Z10, like older BlackBerries, takes forever to start up. Hub notifications here don't text wrap, so are often badly truncated. I experienced the odd hub lockup too and blank application screen. Try as I might, I couldn't get the built-in weather app to use metric units. As with MeeGo, once the device is in landscape mode, the swipe up paradigm becomes inconsistent. Sometimes you have to swipe from the side. I had issues connecting to some Wi-Fi access points. Once the entire battery charge got swallowed up while I slept by some runaway process. Another time the Z10 locked up solid and I had to pull the battery. And so on. It's just software though. I'm sure BlackBerry's engineers are beavering away on an over-the-air update even as I record this. I'm happy to note oddities here, but I'm not going to beat the company up over things which will get addressed, I'm sure, in time. Ah yes, time. 2013 is quite late to be making a new entrance in the smartphone game. Let's say half the existing active BlackBerry user base, so half of 100 million. Eventually transition over to the new platform and devices like the Z10 here and the Q10 coming, and then allow for another 10 million or so who like what they see and come aboard from other platforms over the next year. That takes us to nearly 60 million, enough for a viable ecosystem here, though it's still going to be a lot less than what BlackBerry had in the recent past, and it's tiny compared to how many active Android users there are worldwide right now, around 750 million. As a champion of both minority smartphone platforms and interfaces, I'm very glad to welcome BlackBerry 10 though, and devices like this, the Z10. It's the best BlackBerry yet by a country mile. It's also a great start for a whole new user interface that I'm already rather struck by. Use the Z10 for a few days, then pick up anything else, and you'll be swiping up or left and wondering why it doesn't work anymore. BlackBerry 10 deserves to succeed in some form. I'll certainly be revisiting this in a few months, not least when the Q10 finally arrives. In the meantime, the Z10 is decent for a version 1 rebooted product line, but I'm quite away from being ready to leave my main SIM in one just yet. This is the BlackBerry Z10.